Hey guys, Rich Pollution here, and welcome back to the Nerd Revolution. Today we're going to be reviewing the PlayStation VR. So first I'm going to get into the setup. Your headset connects to the PlayStation 4 via cords. In addition to this is a camera that mounts near your television unit, and that's used to track the motion of the headset as you turn your head side to side. You can control your characters either through the PlayStation 4 wands or through a regular PlayStation 4 controller. I prefer the controller, and I'll get into further details on that later. So the next important thing is how comfortable it is. So when I put it on, it felt pretty lightweight, even though it looks pretty bulky. There are cords that run from the PlayStation 4 to the headset itself, like I mentioned earlier, and these could potentially get in the way, but honestly, I didn't really notice them while I was playing with it. Obviously, the second most important thing is how does it perform? So I found the performance to be actually rather well. As I moved, it tracked my motion pretty well. There is a button to center it, say that you're looking down when you load it, and then you end up looking up. You can hold this button and it will recenter the screen. You can control your character through either the PlayStation 4 wands or the controller itself. I actually preferred the controller. I didn't find the wands to work too well, but I did only try them in one demo. And it was kind of a cartoony demo, and it seemed rather short, so I'm not sure how well developed that was. Overall, I would prefer the controller. I actually found it to be rather distant when I was using the wands. So next I'm going to get into some games. So one of the games that I did play was EVE Online. It's a space flight simulator, where you fly various spaceships out in space, and you play against other teams, and you attack their spaceships to gain points. So this seemed rather smooth. It used the controller as I flew through space, and you could look around the cockpit left or right, which was pretty neat. Now, due to being in space, there was no up or down, which was awesome. You could do loop-the-loops, which I found myself doing all the time. You could easily bank left and right. It was almost like, reminded me kind of a Star Fox feel, multiplayer Star Fox from N64, actually. Overall, EVE Online was rather fun. It did have a rather steep learning curve, and I did not get the learning curve very well before I left. However, my friend who actually had the PlayStation VR, who let me try it out, thank you Travis, he was rather good at the game, and I'll show some clips with him playing.
I feel like there's not many full-fledged VR games out there.
So I'm in a support right now, and I can actually heal my teammates.
So what, do you shoot them with a ray beam and it heals them? So do you often look behind you and whatnot, or you just stay where you are?
Whoops.
The second game I played was Eagle Flight, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're an eagle, and you fly by tilting your head left and right. So I flew in free mode, and I found that as I was flying, the area around it made a great obstacle course for me to fly through. So I ended up flying through buildings, I flew through towers, there was different openings in buildings that you could fly through. I'd dive down and try to follow along a river. It was rather fun. However, I would probably only pay about $15 for the game. It didn't seem too complex, which is probably good for an initial VR game. I don't know what the price point on this is. If I find it, I'll put it in the comments below. The third game I played, and actually one of my favorites, was Star Wars Battlefront. So they have a mini game in this that's a PlayStation VR. And similar to EVE Online, this too is a space flight simulator. You start out walking towards your ship, and you kind of have to navigate your way towards the ship, and then you get inside the cockpit, and then you take off. So you start off from the very beginning, loading into your ship, and then loading into space. It reminded me a lot of Jedi Starfighter from PlayStation 2, but it was very linear. You were forced to go a certain path. You couldn't do loop-de-loops like you could in EVE. You were always flying towards an objective. That said, at the very end, there is a scene where you do fly left and right, but it still will not let you do the loop-de-loops. I could see this game going somewhere if they took this game and turned it into a full-blown game, maybe even reported Jedi Starfighter or remade Jedi Starfighter for the VR. I would totally buy it. It's a shame that this was only a mini game, or essentially a demo. Now, like I said, all those games use the controller, and I felt immersed inside the game. I felt encapsulated by the environment around me. You could turn around and look at what was behind you. It was amazing. Then I played this demo, and it was kind of a cartoony game. I don't remember the name of it. Your spouse gets captured by a giant robot, and you have to go and get her or get him. I can't remember. And you're using the PlayStation 4 wands. It's kind of like a click and play type of game, similar to the computer games where you move the mouse and you click to do an action. I felt distant from that game. I was not impressed with it, and this was my only experience with the PlayStation 4 Move or the PlayStation 4 wands for VR. And honestly, it didn't leave a good taste in my mouth. I probably wouldn't want to get the wands. And I don't know if that was because it was cartoony or just the game itself. However, I was not impressed with the way the wands performed in that. In addition to the games, I also tried the YouTube app. This was cool. You could watch 360 videos, and you could literally turn around and see what was going on behind you. It was fantastic. Obviously, some videos were better than others. I looked at a surfing video, which was rather cool, and that worked rather well. But if it is buffering while you're watching it, it doesn't do a very good job. Now, the PlayStation 4 VR demo also gave me access to some of these videos, and my friend recommended that I watch this video called Invasion. And it's this little rabbit, and aliens come down, and it's a rabbit causing the aliens basically to stumble over themselves and then end up leaving. It was rather funny, and the video itself was rather good. You're watching the video and you can turn around and see what's going on behind you. You can turn to the left and see what's going on over there. They use sound to direct you as to where to look. So you'll hear on the left side the rabbit, and you'll turn to look at the rabbit. And then above you'll hear the spaceship coming down, and you'll look up to see the spaceship coming down. That was very well done. So, some of the pros. It's very smooth running, it's comfortable, and it easily engulfs you inside its world. On the counterpart, we have the cons. It's rather expensive. It starts at $500, and that's without the PlayStation 4. There's not much game support out for it. The only full-blown game that I know that supports this, other than Eve, is Resident Evil. And as cool as that would be, I can't invest $500 just to play Resident Evil and Eve online. The headset itself really should be wireless. I mean, yeah, I didn't find the wires to get in the way too much, but I could see people having that issue. You're also wearing these headphones while you're doing it, and the wire from the headphones down is running across your chest. And I was playing all these sitting down, but if I was moving, if I was standing and twisting and turning, I could see those wires becoming a pain in the butt. Like I said before, I didn't find the wands to work very well. I almost would rather sit there with a controller and play through the game and just use the VR to engulf me into its world. The wands seemed kind of sloppy and forced. It was almost like Sony was like, hey, we have these wands left over from the PlayStation Move, let's force them to work with our virtual reality. I understood what they were going for because the Vive does have similar wands, but it wasn't well done, at least in the game that I played. So in conclusion, if you're looking for an entry-level VR system anyways, this is one of the cheaper ones. It starts at $500. Now, to me, $500 seems rather steep. I could buy a PS4 and a Nintendo Switch for that price, and in fact, I did. So I would probably spend about $200 or $300 for this setup, provided that more games were coming out down the road. Overall, I was impressed with the way it worked. It tracked my motion very well. I loved the fact that when I was using the controller, I felt engulfed inside this world. Like I said, the wands didn't work too hot for me, but maybe that was the game I was playing. Maybe once the next gen comes out, this will drop in price to about $200 or $300, and then I'll pull the trigger and buy it. This is Rich Pollution, signing off. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and hit that bell so that you can be notified for the latest nerd news and nerd reviews. Please remember, be excellent to each other.